until the end of the world.
Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Gospel of Mark.
Glory be to you.
Jesus said to his disciples, "Go into the whole world and proclaim the gospel to every creature. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved. Whoever does not believe will be condemned. These signs will accompany those who believe. In my name they will drive out demons. They will speak new languages. They will pick up serpents with their hands. And if they drink any deadly thing, it will not harm them. They will lay hands on the sick, and they will recover." So then the Lord Jesus, after he spoke to them, was taken up into heaven and took his seat at the right hand of God. But they went forth and preached everywhere, while the Lord worked with them and confirmed the word through accompanying signs. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
There was a certain man that wanted to be remembered by people. And so this is what he did. He went to a beach with a stick, and he took the stick and wrote his name deeply into the sand. And he stood back very proudly looking at his name. And not too long after that, the waves of the sea came up and went back, and came up and went back. And little by little, as he looked at his name, it was no more. So he thought again, and he decided to go into a forest, very deep into the forest. And he took his knife, and he saw a very large tree, and he started cutting away in the bark of the tree, little by little, until he had his name on the bark of this large tree. And he felt very satisfied about that, and he went away. And several days later, he decided just to come back, just to check all of that in the same space and place. And as he approached this large tree, he realized that the sap of the tree had oozed down and covered his name. And so he began to think again, and as he was leaving the forest, he saw this large stone. He came back with a hammer and chisel, and he began to chip away in the large stone. And he was very satisfied about that. And he went away. And about a week or so later, he came back, and all he saw were chips on the ground because a stone cutter had come and cut away the stone, and his name was no more. At that point, the Lord appeared to him, and he looked at the man. He said, "Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Write your name in the hearts of people, and you will be remembered forever." And that is why, my friends, we have already left, or really started, to leave our names written in the hearts of many people, one way or another. How many people have your name in their heart that touched them deeply or scarred them miserably and horribly? We listened to the short passage of Mark's Gospel this morning, and our name and our life goes from person to person and heart to heart. And with the power of God in us, who are the people, who is that someone that we have evangelized? That is, that we brought good news, glad tidings somehow in their day-to-day life. It doesn't have to be a stupendous kind of thing, but your heart met theirs, and you touched them, and that will never leave them. They may not know the words, they may not remember the circumstance, but they sense something about that moment because you did that. You were the one. You were the one. Or your name and your presence that allowed someone to survive some poisonous or toxic people or situations in their life. Your name and life that brings healing and hope and not abuse and despair. God became human so that we could become sharers, partakers in his divinity. That's called divine union, little by little in our life. It takes a lifetime, and he brings us beyond that into full union with him, face to face with God. We couldn't take that right now, being face to face with God himself. This Jesus, this human face of God, this great heart of God, so that in our prayer and our life's path and pilgrimage of union with him and his people, the church, we can move in mystery from this for now life through our own death and into the life without end that we refer to as heaven. So Jesus says to his friends in the scriptures, and we gathered here, even for us, and he's saying it about himself. Even for me, there comes this time to say goodbye. Isn't that what's happening in this experience of the ascension of Jesus? There comes this time to say goodbye. It was for him, and it will be for us in all sobering reality. No evasions, no excuses or extensions or blaming or gaming or bull or whatever. Jesus' whole life, death, and resurrection teach us to accept everyone and everything as a gift. Everyone and everything on loan to teach us as long as we are alive in this life. It's not good to cling tightly to relationships or to hoard earthly treasures. In prayer, we open our hands and surrender all the important treasures and relationships of our lives to God. Everything. You know, those followers of Jesus there on that day of the Ascension, and for you mothers, the mother of Jesus was there among them. And next Sunday on Pentecost in the upper room, and the mother of Jesus was with them. The mother of us all. If we ever knew our mother, or we disconnected somehow in our life. There was a priest that was giving a homily in a small parish in the countryside. He was a very stern man. And in his homily, he said, "We bring nothing with us when we die. There's no money in heaven. People in heaven have no money." And at that, the congregation was very, very quiet and very, very serious. And a little girl whispered, and she didn't realize it, how loudly she was whispering to her mother, "Mama, Mama, we're in heaven already." So I don't have to go that long in my life. I don't know about you, but I'm in some kind of heaven one way or another. I was a young priest. And the first day of spring, 8 months after I was ordained, I received a call from my mother because the next day was a free day and all she was going to ask is, "If you're coming home, maybe I can make something you like." And I said, yes, I was. And about an hour later, there was another call from someone else. And the voice said, "Your mother's been rushed to the hospital." And at that moment, I knew. You just know. And when I arrived, my mother had passed. My brother was there. I waited for my father and my uncle, and I knew while we waited that it happened. Quite suddenly, quite unexpectedly, time to say goodbye. In the 16th century, there lived a great woman in Spain named Teresa of Jesus, Teresa of Avila. At one point of her life, she was trying to express her relationship with God, just overwhelmed. And every so often in this beautiful poem she writes, which is called "In the Hands of God," is that I am yours and born for you. What do you want of me? Yours I am, for you I was born. Yours I am, for you I was born. What do you want of me? All through our lives. All through our lives, those questions are very much like the apostles in the upper room next week with the mother of us all, the mother of the church. And in that upper room, to await fully the passing of Jesus' Spirit into their hearts. And even now, before Pentecost for us and the whole church, that question deep in our hearts, waiting there to be answered. I am yours and born for you. What do you want of me? I believe in one God, God,
maker of heaven and earth, and of all things visible and invisible. I believe in one Lord Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, born of the Father before all ages, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten, not made, consubstantial with the Father. Through him all things were made. For our sin and for our salvation, he came down